The answer to this is it really depends. For example, here in Texas, I'm in Austin, Texas, and the reason why I can work as a general remodeling contractor and also do a lot of the work myself is because I work as sort of a personal agent of each particular client. It's also why I only do one project at a time and do most of the work myself. Because in Texas, there's a sort of an exemption to any sort of permitting, which is called a homeowner's exemption. The idea is if you are a homeowner in Texas and you want to work on your own house, you can do anything you want as long as you do the work yourself or with a friend or a buddy or someone that you have a personal relationship with. But basically, if you're involved in doing the work as a homeowner in Texas, you can knock yourself out. You can even do your own plumbing and electrical work in Texas if you want to. Now, that's really unusual. That usually doesn't apply to other states or other cities or towns. So it really depends on what your state regulations are, what your county regulations may be, but generally it's a city or state regulatory thing as to whether you need a permit or not. And it's very important if you're going to go down the conventional renovation road of not doing the work yourself, but getting someone else to do it, then you want to make sure that you know what the permitting regulations are in your city and in your state, because worst case scenario, let's say that I renovate my house and I add a bathroom, which really stands out when you go to sell your house because you bought the house as a 2-bathroom house, you're selling it as a 3-bathroom house. The realtor is going to notice that. That's going to attract attention, and that's going to need to be permitted for the house to be sold after the renovation. And if you did unpermitted work and you live in some place where permits are mandatory for renovation work, like for example, adding a bathroom with electrical, plumbing, structural, etc., then it could be a worst case scenario of having to literally rip apart and undo the work that you previously done so that you could show to generally city inspectors that the work was actually done correctly. So know the permitting situation that applies to you before you start a big project like a full bathroom remodel or a full kitchen remodel. Otherwise, you could end up in a situation where you have to rip it all apart again and do it all over in order to sell your house. If you don't want to have to rip apart your work and redo it afterwards because it attracted city attention, basically it's electrical and plumbing that needs to be inspected before things get covered up with drywall. But in other places, like for example, California, even things like carpentry and even sometimes finish work needs to be inspected before it's all signed off on and everything's good and you don't have any problems when you go to sell your house.